that I forget to check something. There's always one thing that I miss. Right, audio's back. Should we rewind and start again? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Ken Dizzle, the Black British Cyclist. Cycling for fun through 2025. Let's go. Yes, to Powerup, the first one of today's ride. I'm gonna go for feather. Oh, aero. And I can hear some sound coming through from somewhere. Right, so should we start again? Audio problems resolved. Only 8 minutes in. I started the stream a little bit earlier as well. So, today's ride is coast to coast. This is a Zwift cycling app. It's a little under 27 kilometers of distance, 165 meters of elevation, riding in the world of Watopia. There are 826 other cyclists riding with us right now. And as we go around, I'm just going to chat about all things Zwift. So if you're new to Zwift and you're looking to get started, I'll give you some tips on some of the equipment you might need getting started in Zwift. But I'm also going to focus today on what you can see on the screen. So I'll be doing some cycling tips on best position to ride, things that you need in order to make your Zwift ride a little bit more comfortable. Obviously I want to talk about music, but of course if there's any questions you have, just put them in the chat, as Phil has done. Coast to Coast is an awesome course. So it's kind of like an unspoken rule. Someone takes a pull at the front for certain amount of time. I usually do 30 seconds or a minute, and then I'll drop back into the pack, share some of that load. So right now everyone's good, we're all in the bunch. Obviously apart from the person right at the front, everyone's getting the draft benefit. So you're saving on watts, you're saving on energy. Phil's put a comment in the chat. The new pack dynamics are out now. Not sure if rolled out beyond Watopia yet. Yeah, so the pack dynamics, that's kind of like the algorithm that the Zwift app factors in, that tells it how the riders react. So it takes things into consideration like your rider height, weight, the bike you on, your wheels, riding resistance, and your position in the pack here, and how the rest of the game environment will react to you. So it's kind of making it have as near to real world riding simulation experience as it can. And you get little reminders. So you see I'm falling out a bit, so it's got close the gap, so you can make sure that you're always staying in. Really, really important if you are in a race or you're doing a long group ride. Stay with a group. A group of riders travels a lot faster than a solo rider, and for less effort. So I'm going to fire off this Powerup, and we've got a chance to get to Powerup again. I'm going to go for draft actually. I've been talking about draft. Oh, thanks Phil. So I've explained it, but it looks like I'm going to the front. And I did get the draft Powerup, so that's good. Little bit of a mini climb coming up. You can see the colour is changing to yellow. So I'm just gonna probably keep my gears where they are, but spin the legs more to counter the additional effort, because the turbo trainer will adjust to meet the resistance or the incline of that hill. There you go. So I didn't need to change gear. I just increased the speed of my pedal rotation, so I still maintained the speed going up. Yeah, so we've accumulated a little mini bunch here, which is the effective way to ride when you're in Zwift. And a way to say thank you or hello to all the riders around you is to give a ride on. If you're using the companion app, you can just press the little arrow button where your marker is, and it sends a little thumbs up ride on to the 5 cyclists in your immediate vicinity. Now here's a little tip. When I'm riding in a group, I like to fire off the ride on a few times so it kind of tags all the riders that are with me. So if at a later stage we overtake or get swarmed by another group of riders from behind, they might be travelling at a different speed, it's easier for me to work out who are the riders that were originally with me. Or look on the menu behind me, and I just take note of 1 or 2 riders who are around me. So in this instance, I can see you've got Zola from Germany, there's C. Tommy from Sweden. So I just keep a little eye on those and see we're being swamped now by those riders. So it's easy to get caught up and then forget who you're riding with, and then you end up pushing faster or slower because you've just confused the riders. So right now I can see Zola's just in front still, so he's still with me. And the other one was the Swedish one. Seems to have disappeared actually. Where's the Swedish one gone? Might be just a couple of riders in front. Yeah, so that's a little handy tip. Well, I think it's a handy tip. How isn't it to progress up the levels? So this is kind of perfectly where you'd want to be when you are riding Zwift in a group. So I guess it's important to, when you're selecting your group ride, that you select a group ride that has the ride pace that you're comfortable with. And that can also be if you're riding with the robo pacers. They'll have the pace or the effort of the riders or the group ride will be set in what we call watts per kilogram. And you can see an example of the watts per kilogram by looking where you've got the side view of the bike. Just above me, you can see the numbers. You've got my watts, 122, 130. And then just below that, at the bottom, you've got a little weight symbol. You can see 1.6, 1.7 watts per kilogram. That's the weight that's the effort that I'm putting out. And it's just a simple calculation that Zwift does for you. It's the watts you're putting out divided by your weight in kilogram. Gives you that effort. And that's a really good measure to see riders of different levels, different strengths. The effort will be more or less equivalent. So if you weigh half my weight and I'm currently doing 2 watts per kilogram, if you was going at the same effort, the same pace as me, obviously your weight's half the size as mine, so your watts per kilogram would be a different figure to mine. You would be 4 watts per kilogram, but we're still going at the same effort. And that's a simplified and very basic explanation of the watts per kilogram. It's something you don't have to worry about too much. Just know that if you are riding, just take a look on the menu, on the display. See the amount of watts that you're putting out when you're riding, whether that's at zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, you know, when you're sprinting, doing effort, and you can see the watts per kilogram you're putting out. You can also get it at the end of the ride, where it will show you your average watts and watts per kilogram at the end of the ride, and that will give you a rough idea of the sort of group that you need to be in. So watts per kilogram. Whew. Should we talk about this Zwift Powerup? Oh, thank you for the compliments, Phil. Loads of compliments today. So you get a load of Powerups as well when you're riding Zwift, and that's the gamification side of this cycling. Now don't be confused, this is as close to cycling outdoors as you're ever going to get. I'm on a real bike, it's attached to a turbo trainer. I've even got an extra power meter in the pedals, so the cadence of my legs going round, the watts that I'm putting out in the pedals, is being captured, translated in the app onto the screen. So right now I'm doing 146, 164 watts, and that is a real output what I'm putting out from the pedals. So and every time the gradient changes, so we go up to a hill, it would adjust the turbo trainer to reflect the gradient of what you're cycling. So it really is mimicking what you get outside. The only difference is I'm not outside, haven't got to worry about balance, don't have to worry about cars, pedestrians, wet, icy, slippy surfaces. Everything's just perfect, so I can really just focus on cycling. And in order to make this, I guess, more inclusive, reaching out to more people and more engaging, Zwift have added a little bit of a game effect by adding those power-ups. They're kind of like what you'd have in Mario Kart. So you get 4 or 5, in fact there's probably a few more if you're doing races. That would just make your riding a little bit more fun, a little bit of an advantage, like a sprint advantage. This one here, for example, is called the draft. So I've just explained about the draft effect. If I press it now, that will fire off for about 20 or 30 seconds, dripping with sweat. And the draft benefit that I'm already getting just by being in a draft is multiplied by 10%. So I'm getting extra benefit of the draft effect. So it's really important when you get your power-ups to use them strategically. If you're in a race, a draft is good for when you're looking to get some recovery, just save them on the legs. You get the aero boost, that's going to make your avatar more aerodynamic for about 10-15 seconds. So that's perfect. If you're in a sprint, it's going to give you that little bit of an advantage to get you over the line. And it's things like the feather. So there were 904 riders on today's ride. We have done 16 kilometers, 10 and a half kilometers left. Pretty mixed terrain, so there's a bit of a gravel surface right now. I'm on the right bike, I'm on the Tron bike. It's like a decent all-round for the mixed surfaces that we're on. So I definitely recommend, if you are using Zwift, connect your mobile, get yourself a little handlebar strap. I think this one was about £4 on Amazon or AliExpress, one of those ones. So my mobile is clipped onto the handlebars, so I can control the features of Zwift, the Zwift screen, just from my handlebars, my immediate area, rather than having to stretch forward in order to use the laptop. And I can do things like change the view, look at all my view changing. I've got a map on here as well. I can do things like pressing the ride-ons, take a photograph, turn off the graph. Do things like ride on, hammer time, on toes. Nice. So yeah, and you can also send messages to other Zwifters that are in the group. So it's quite handy. And of course, use it to press your power-ups when your power-ups come. Now I was talking about drafting and staying with people, and I'm coming up with people, so I'm just gonna pick up the effort a bit. Here's what you do when you're not in the draft, so you're not really riding as efficient as you need to. So I'm taking all of the headwind. I'm just gonna put some effort in so I can catch up these riders. And the important thing is to ease off as you get nearer. So I'm not gonna go for this first guy. I'm gonna push forward a bit for the ones in front. And as I get closer, I'm gonna ease off the effort. If I do catch him. Show that red on my graph now. So as I'm getting closer now, I can see the seconds on the map counting down. Ease off a bit. so I don't overshoot. And I want to slot in, but rather than going right at the back, I like to go about the middle. Gives you a little bit more notification if you fall off again. And now you can use this time to settle in again. Get your breath back. Get that heart rate down from 158 back to below 150. Yeah, so that's how you get on, and it's probably worth just practicing when you're out riding in Zwift, getting onto the back of a group. Probably one of the first things I was told to learn when I started Zwift, and it absolutely makes your entire ride a whole lot easier because you burn less effort, you're riding more efficiently. Okay, so it is a 360. You're getting your run coaching license renewed. Oh, feather Powerup. Awesome. Bit of a climb here. Nothing too taxing. Maybe perfect that I got the feather. So we've spoken about the draft Powerup. We've spoken a little bit about the aero Powerup. This is the feather Powerup, which is perfect to be used when you are climbing a hill, because you're going to make that climb a little bit easier. And now that Zwift have got this hill graph in front, I can easily see which of the gradients are harder and which are easier. So blue is obviously easy, yellow harder, orange harder, red harderest. Yeah, I know those words don't mean anything. So I'm probably going to fire it off when we get to that yellow section, so I can do the yellow and probably all of the orange. It's also a KOM section, so there's the marker there. So if you're doing like a time section, you go now. It also means I'm going to get another power up at the end of it. I'm just going to fire off this using the companion app. You can see the gradients going up. 5%. So the feather Powerup is making my avatar a little bit lighter, so I'm going to climb the hill a little bit easier. 6%. Woo. And the turbo trainer adjusts the gradient so it feels like 6%, 5%. Here you go. I think I timed that perfect. Last bit of yellow, 3%. Little blue for some quick recovery. Then another little orange climb. And a yellow slug. To the end. But every hill you climb, there's a hill to go down. So you earn it, burn it, and then enjoy the downhill. So now it's going to get a little bit easier. Although it's still 3%. 3.7 kilometers left to go. This should be the last bit of work. Just going to spin the legs faster, get up faster. And I think it's easier the more you spin. Come on, heart rate, 180. Cooking.
It sound right, boy.
He's right. So, you've been watching Ken Dizzle, the Black British Cyclist, cycling on Zwift, streaming for fun, chats while I cycle. This has been stage 6, the shorter stage, or the shorter group ride. of Tour De Zwift 2025. The route was coast to coast, just under 27 kilometers of distance, which is just over 16 miles, 168 meters of elevation, a reasonably flat route with just a couple of mini climbs in the middle of it, some slight rises, but some nice reward of a recovery downhill when you finish. This is what I'm doing right now after the longest of the two reasonably short climbs, the Jarvis KOM, and we are just over 1 kilometer to the finish line. My heart rate has returned back to a decent level, down from 182 to the 140s. Chance for another sprint to the line. If you're looking to sprint, I'm going to fire off the Aero Powerup just so I can collect a new one as we go through this line here. Again, I'm gonna go aero again. Why not? Let's get an aero. What would it be? What would it be? Oh, I was gonna say feather. One way around. Okay, so I've got the feather aero again. Feather Powerup. So yeah, so in summary, it's going to be around about 50 minutes it's taken me to complete this ride, which is 27 kilometers. So depending on the level of your fitness, the effort that you're going, if you pick this particular route, I'd say you could expect to get around it in between 45 minutes and 1.5 hours. If you're going at a leisurely 100 to 120, 130 watts, you're probably closer to the 1.5 hours, maybe 1 hour 20. But if you're pushing at around about 200 watts average, then you're probably closer to the 45. And if you're a crazy speed demon, well then you're going to do that in about 40. You get bonus XP and points when you complete any route in Zwift for the first time. Points make prizes. Your Zwift prizes allow you to get new bikes, jerseys, bibs, customise your avatar, and new wheels. One last final, get a Powerup. XP, I'm gonna go for XP. Let's go for XP. 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 Whoop, whoop. 135 watt average. 49 minutes, 37. Oh, it's feather again. 26.8 kilometers. And that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed today's ride. If it's your first time here, this should give you an idea of what this online cycling thing is all about. If you want to hear in more detail any of the topics that I've covered in today's chat, check out, I've got nearly 1,000 videos, people. So check out any of my videos. I've grouped them into playlists. There's probably a video on a subject in cycling that I've got covered there somewhere. Have a look through them. I'm live Mondays and Thursdays at 5. Route complete, coast to coast. Whoop, whoop. If I'm not here on Mondays and Thursdays, you'll find me over on Twitch. I sometimes do a bonus ride on a Saturday, 2 PM, all times are in GMT. I'm the Black British Cyclist, I won't be using Western, would I? Anyway, or Eastern Standard Time. So GMT 5, live at 5 with the BBC. And I'm all about answering questions, making your journey into cycling, whether it's outdoors or indoors, a little bit more enjoyable and positive. Thanks for watching. I'm going to spin the legs for another 10 minutes and cool down. But for now, I'll see you soon.